All right, so hey, we're in a 2023 Chevy Colorado, and we are going to be taking these seats out to put in a Goose Gear seat delete system. And to give you some tips on how to do that, the first thing is remove the headrests. That's the easiest thing. There is actually a little plastic plug right here. This plastic plug snaps into this metal trim, and it has a tab here. Whoa, look at that. That was good, smooth, baby. Tab here and a tab here, and then a slot. And that actually goes in this slot right here. So when you pull this out, you're gonna have to push the fabric down, push a screwdriver, get it loose, push a screwdriver, and then pop it out and take it out. Inside here is a nut. It's an M10 nut. You'll need a deep socket. Loosen that, take the nut out. Once that's out, you're gonna take the seats and fold them up. And underneath here, there are 2, 4, 6 different M18 nuts that are in the vehicle. You're gonna loosen those bolts, take them out. After that, you're going to take the seats, fold them both up, and then we're going to lift the seat out. We'll show you that in just 1 second. Here we go. So we're going to take the seats out now. We've taken, again, this nut out, which is an M10. We've taken the headrests out. We have removed the nuts on the bottom of the seat that hold it in. You can see it when you look under there with the flashlight. You'll see it's a nice big metal stud sticking up with an M18 nut. So once those are out, there's actually a plastic covered metal bar here that goes into a slot. And that slot is shaped like this. And the bar has to go over, down, and then pushes forward. So you have to push the seat back, up, and then out. And you also have to lift it vertically to get it off this pin at the same time. So it's kind of a janky situation. May not look real smooth, but we'll get it out somehow. So I'm gonna push back a little bit, push up. Push up on this thing, and then pull it forward a little bit. And that's it. So now this side's out. I'm gonna go grab that side, push it back, pull up, and then pull out. So now we're gonna do the other side. Again, you're gonna push back a little bit, lift up, and then come out.
Out she
and
goes.
When you look at this, you can see here's this. Here's the claw. It goes over and then actually pulls against this. And then there's your stud right there that goes up into this little socket that you removed. And this is what basically holds the seat from being lifted out. Now you can see under here pretty nicely. So you can see these are the studs, 2, 4, 6. And then also your seat belts are all in these same positions. So your seatbelts are there. You're gonna have a seatbelt still sitting here that has the strap coming up this way. You'll have to remove that, slide it out through here, and then unbolt that and remove that for the seat delete. Okay, so now you've taken the seat out. This seatbelt is gonna get removed, so you're gonna take this out. You're gonna pop this piece off. And then you're gonna take the seatbelt and you're gonna thread it through this little slot right here. Take this off, pull the seatbelt out. Remove it from the vehicle 100%. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take off these. These are the clips that held the seats on, and also the safety restraint system for the child seats. These brackets are going to come off. Obviously save everything so you can put your vehicle back to stock when you're done. All right, so now that the seats are out, we're going to remove these little bumpers. So we're actually using these mounting points right here. So it's just an 8mm socket, and they're not too hard, pretty light. Just take these out. Set these aside, put them somewhere safe, so if you ever decide to put your seats back in, you have them to put them back in. That's it. Take all 5 of them out. We're ready to move that to the next step. So we also have these brackets back here, and these are what hold the back wall on. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to install the back wall, and in order to do that, we have to clearance a little bit of carpet because we want these to sit flat on the ground. They can't sit like that on an angle. It won't work well. So we're going to take some scissors here. We have some nice heavy industrial scissors. We're going to cut this piece of carpet out. You don't have to cut the whole thing, just a little bit, a little more than that though. And a little more than that. So now our bracket can sit flat on the ground, has room to adjust because you need that adjustability to get this thing all to line up properly. I'm going to put the nut on, the washer on there, and use the factory nut to lock this down. We're just going to put it in loose so you can still move it while we bolt the back wall in. Don't tighten anything until you're done getting all of the bolts in place, and then you go in and tighten, and that way it gives you a lot easier to install. All right, so it's a little bit more cutting over here. We need to cut this carpet right here also, and then we're also going to cut this carpet back here because these also need to sit over here, but they're not going to sit flat with that carpet being in the way. So get these out of the way real quick. I'm going to take this and just cut this right here. We try not to modify vehicles if we don't have to, but this is a situation where there was really no other way around it because we want this to fit just right. Don't cut the wires. Okay, that's back under here. Now we've got room for this to go in. These brackets can now go on, and they have some good adjustments. So now we can get them exactly the way we want them. Put the washers on there. Let's go grab some nuts, and we'll put the nuts on here. Kind of get these again loose. Leave them loose, but get them in place so we can put the back wall in, get the back wall bolted here. It's going to thread into this anchor point, and that anchor point on that side, which is where we remove the child safety restraint, which is actually a very, very solid location because it's designed to hold your child seat. So it's been engineered. It's a great place to tie things down. So just going to get these started. And then you spin it until it stops spinning with your fingers. It is a type of lock nut. It has these little indentions right here. So that means it's a factory, like the threads are different. So it gets tighter as it goes on. So it does take a little bit of elbow grease, but it's not too bad. We recommend using hand tools on everything. That way you don't over tighten it. Make sure it's threaded before you start. You don't want to use an impact if you don't have to, because you want to make sure you don't cross thread anything. So if this gets cross threaded, you're going to be in a world of hurt. Same with these anchor points also. When you are putting these in, we'll talk about it again, but these are actually at an angle. This is not vertical, this is angled. So when you put the bolt in, you've got to think as you're putting it in, it's got to go at an angle. You can't go straight because it'll cross thread. So that's something that's very critical when you're going to do that step. Okay, crank these down. All right, so remember again, you want to get this close, but you want to be able to make it move. This is a little bit too tight. Back it off a little bit so it slides easy, but it still doesn't lift really. It keeps its position at height, which is great. So that's it. Again, hand tools. All right, so again, get it in so it moves easy. That's a little bit too tight. Just gonna loosen it up a little bit so it slides around just enough. There we go. Now we can get the plate in, the back wall set in, get it bolted together, get it set. Okay, here we are again, 2023 Chevy Colorado. We're going to do the 60% seat delete and the 40%, so 100% seat delete. It's sold as two separate pieces, and the reason is because if we had to ship this big, huge plate, it would cost about $200 more. And to keep costs down, we made it two smaller pieces. We also wanted to break up the hatches, because if you do the 40% delete, 60% delete, right, to get the 100, you can put a fridge here. You can leave the side infill panel off and still have access underneath, but still have your fridge in your back seat and still be able to open these hatches without it overlaying. If we did 100% delete, we might have some issues with putting a fridge in, covering hatches, not covering hatches. This way it just lays out a little bit better for future growth for you as far as adjustability, what you want to use. So we're going to basically take this product and we're going to assemble it. This is basically like a splayed out version. This is the outside fill leg. This is the front support leg. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this thing and we're going to flip it upside down. Now that we've flipped it upside down, this piece goes here, and this piece goes like this. So you're going to take and loosen these screws up a little bit. This is just going to be a 5/32 or a 4mm Allen wrench. You're going to loosen it up to where it's just barely holding on like that. Loosen this one up also. Barely holding on. And then you are going to take and slide this in. Okay, so that's it. Slide that in. Get this one ready. Slide this one in. Make sure it's going in the slot. And then the quick, easy way to see if this is in alignment is you have the holes that the extrusion we just slid in. This and this should line up, roughly. Now in your vehicle, when you go to put it in, it's going to move around a little bit, right? Because there's a lot of adjustability and a lot of tolerances in the vehicle. So you may end up moving this, but it should be pretty close to flush at the front here. And then this and this, this and this should line up. Once that's in place and it looks all right, just go ahead and snug these down. I wouldn't put a lot of torque on these right now because you may have to adjust them. Just get it to where it's holding it in place. Later on you can fine tune it, get it where you want, and then lock it down. Now we're going to do the same thing with the front leg. So front leg is going to go like this. This is over your transmission hump. That's why it has that notch. I'm going to lay this down. It's a little bit easier. I've done this a few hundred times, so it's kind of easy just to feel it instead of having to look at it. And now we're going to take this piece and slide it in. And it's going to have some resistance because the Line-X, not the Line-X, but the bed liner material is gripping. Loosen it up a little more, it'll slide a little easier. Take this one, continue sliding it. And this guy, get it in. Come on, baby. There we go. That's fancy now. Okay, so now that that's in, as you're sliding this in, there is a chance that this screw could catch a little traction and unscrew and drop the T-nut inside the slot. So if you go to tighten this and the screw just keeps spinning, you need to slide it back out, put the T-nuts back in, and slide it back in. It happens 1 in 100 times, but of course, the time when you do it, how are we going to do it? Just torque these down just a tiny bit, just to get it to hold, so that it doesn't slide out when you're picking up and moving around. The last thing you want to do is try and put this in the truck. It slides out and damages the side of your truck. Okay. There's your 60% seat delete. With the legs attached, you can see it's kind of flush here. A little bit of reveal, nice and clean, ready to go in on the old driver's side. So now we'll do the 40%. All right, so now we're going to build the 40% side of the seat delete. We're doing the base platform again. So this is basically the way it's going to lay out. This is the support leg on this side. This is the front support leg that goes behind the front seat. And now we're going to put this all together. So first thing, flip the plate over. This is now going to end up over here. And this is now going to end up like that. So we're going to loosen these screws up a little bit. Slide this side leg on. Leave it so, like you said, just a little bit of grip. Hopefully enough that it doesn't fall out while you're trying to put it in. Right there. I'm going to take this piece. I'm going to slide it in from the front because it's a shorter distance. Maybe loosen it up just a little bit more. There we go. Get this guy going. Okay. And I'm going to leave it right there back a little bit because we got to slide this leg in. Loosen the screws up a little bit. Good. Slide this one in. Now sometimes it can be really tight, sometimes it can be really loose. The coating that we put on this is put on by hand by a human, and so it's going to have some variation. And so you might have to do a little bit of loosening and finagling to get it all lined up. Okay. So now I got this in place. This guy is going to sit flush here. Put a little bit on it, just a little bit again, just to hold it in place while you work on it. Okay. And again, when you put this together, just like on the other one, this hole and this hole should line up, these holes should line up, these holes, and these holes. So you should have a straight line. Of course, you may have to adjust, like we said in the other one, because your vehicle is going to have a little bit of variance tolerance, built in all the mounting points that we're going to use. All right, so again, Chevy Colorado 2023 model year and newer. We're going to go ahead and get ready on the back wall, the 40% back wall. So the back wall on the 40% is going to use 2 mending plates. Some people call them dog bones because they look like a dog bone. This is basically to tie the 40% to the 60%, which goes here. 2 sets of screws for these mending plates. And then we have 2 feet with PEM. So this is, we call this a foot. It basically is a mounting foot. So we use this for drawers, for drawer guides, for drawer modules, and also for seat deletes. And these guys are actually getting mounted here. And this is actually your structure for the seat delete going forward. So as the seat delete comes this way, this is your back wall. That's what it mounts to. And then this is your actual installation bolt into the back wall. So this is an M8 by 100 millimeter. So it's a nice big long bolt, and it's going to go through this hole into the back wall. So now let's go ahead and put all of these pieces on so that it's ready to get bolted in the vehicle. So I'm going to start here. We're going to take the foot with PEM. We're going to take our little 5/8 inch long quarter 20 screw and our 5/32 Allen wrench. We're going going to set that in there real quick. Grab our next screw, put it in here, get it started. So these guys you can actually tighten down because they are not going to move. This is their home. Do this side. Get that like that. Obviously we use a lot of these. If you have that, it helps. If you use a regular Allen wrench, you can. It's just a little bit more time consuming. Obviously we use a lot of this, so different tools for the job. Get it started. When you do it, obviously make sure it's threading in, right? If you get a lot of resistance, it's probably not threaded in right. So make sure it's threaded in properly before you start tightening down, because these will cross thread. That little clicking sound is not a problem. It's not a negative. It's just seating itself, and not everyone does it. That's actually the zinc coating of the two products twisting together, and the friction and the heat is actually causing it to kind of bind together. Okay, so these guys are our 1/4-20 by 7/8, and these guys are going to go through the feet in the floor that we've already put in the back of the truck. So they're going to go through those feet. So imagine this is the floor of the truck going forward, and this is your back wall. They're going to go into these two holes right here and hold this to those feet on the floor. And then we're going to take this bolt, put it through there, and we're in. So now it's at our mending plates. I'm going to turn this a little bit so I can reach it a little easier. So open these guys up. There we go. So I'm going to take this and set it under here. You can kind of get it lined up with the first hole. See, I wanted to cross thread a little bit right there and then back it out. So as soon as it starts getting stuck, you know something's wrong. So then just back it out and start over. These guys you want to leave fairly loose because this is what holds the two pieces together, right? This is what ties the 40 and 60 together. So you want to have a lot of adjustment in those. So leave those pretty loose. It'll be a lot easier to install when you get into the truck. This guy. So in but loose. All right, so now we're going to get the 60% back wall ready for the 2023 Chevy Colorado. This is going to have 3 feet with PEM. So when we say feet with PEM, it's basically this foot bracket, and the PEM is actually the nut that's actually been bonded into the metal. That's why we call it a foot with PEM. I probably should have covered that last one, so if you were lost, now you know why. So we've got basically our 1/4-20 by 7/8 for the two sides, which are going to go the L brackets on the floor. We've got our feet, and these guys are going to get bolted here and a third one here, and that's where the seat delete actually is going to mount to. So we're going to put those on. These holes are part of the mending plate from the 40% side. They go underneath, and we'll bolt those in when it gets in the vehicle. So right now, the only thing we need to do to get this ready is to put the feet with PEM on. So let's get that done. So grab a 1/4-20 by 5/8 and a lock washer, and just get it started right here in this little hole. So that one I actually put down a little bit too tight, so it's not going to be able to move, so it would make it hard to get the second one in. So loosen it up a little bit. Get this guy in. You'll see that I start and it goes like that and stops, and then I back up. And what I'm doing is it's going in and it's actually cross-threading, and I can feel because it stops. So then you back it up and let the threads go in. So the threads obviously are angular, so it's basically starting here and cutting this way. You back it up, it drops into the ledge, and then it falls in the slot. So if it does something funky, it goes in, it stops, back it up a half a turn, and then restart, and you should be good. So this guy, again, 1/4-20 by 5/8, so it's 1/4 inch diameter, 20 threads per inch, and 5/8 inch long. A lot of information in a very short statement. Oh man, that one is not liking it at all, huh? Put this guy in here. Come on now. Alright, so that one I actually had to hold the head a little bit straight. That's why I reached around and grabbed it, to get it to thread in properly, because it was just fighting a bunch of stuff. Sometimes screws are angry. This one is just a little bit snug. So sometimes when you're putting these on, you'll see sections like on this screw right here, if you want to come in real close, you can see there's a little bit of the coating material that we put in. You can see where it got pushed over a little bit when they put the T-nut in. So you just want to clear that out a little bit. You can take a pocket knife If you see something like that, it's going to be a lot easier if you deal with it now than try and get that screw in there. There's some tape, those opening boxes. There we go. So now it should be pretty good. I'm being attacked by tape right now. All right. So now we'll take this guy, put this guy in. Oh, that went in beautiful. That was like a professional screw. There we go. Another one, a little bit snug. Probably a little bit of residue in there still that I didn't get quite out. Leave them a little bit loose. Actually, these guys are all good, so now we can torque these down. Once these guys are in, you can torque them down. They don't need to be adjusted later on. Plus, it's going to be very hard to reach underneath there. It's a small space. Okay. So now that that's in, we are ready to go and take this plate, put it in the vehicle. We're going to have these little 1/4 by 7/8 screws. They're going to go through the feet brackets that we already put in the vehicle. They're going to go through here and tighten it down at the floor. And then we're going to take these two longer M8 by 100 millimeter bolts, and they're going to go through these holes into the back wall, into the child tethers, and that's what's going to hold it in place. So let's go get these walls put in. All right, so now it's time to get this back wall in place. So we're going to just drop it back here. And this is going to sit like that. So this foot right here, we're going to actually put screws. You can see the screws actually line up. So you're going to put a screw here, and then a bolt here, and that's going to tie these together. And then when it comes time to put the 6% side in, we'll put it in, and then these mending plates are where they're going to tie these together. So we're going to take this little screw here, and put it in there and get it started. Yeah. The other one. So you'll see I'm lifting up with the foot to hold it above this thread, this stud, so you can get access to it. And we'll adjust this as we get going. We're going to put these in. We're just going to put them in really loose so that we have lots of adjustment. This moves around real nice and easy because we got a lot of stuff to line up to get all the way across the vehicle. Let's get the 60% in here. So this is going to be a little more difficult than the 40% side because we've got a lot of foam insulation. That's not too good. So there's a lot of foam insulation back there. We're going to have to push out of the way, kind of get this in position. All right, so now we're going to put this screw in here, get it attached to the floor here. It's a little bit of an awkward position. You're kind of going around this stud. Alright, so get this guy going. Lined up. It's threading in, going in nice and easy, right? So that's the key. There might be a little resistance. I'm putting a little bit, that's just, again, that's the coatings fighting each other a little bit. So now, before we put these screws in the top, I'm going to tie these two together a little bit. Just take this screw, throw it in here. And you can see there's a lot of movement, right? You have a lot of adjustability with this. And that's by design, right? These vehicles have a lot of tolerance built into them. When they build them at the manufacturing plant, they're all built by robots pretty much now, but they still have a lot of tolerance. And that's actually good because it does make it a lot easier for us and you to make the installation. So this one's not lining up at all. So I'm going to take my Allen wrench, stick it in here, find the hole. And just, you can see I pull it and it pulled these two together. Kind of gets it in alignment. You can see my Allen wrench now is in the middle. And then this piece should just thread right in, and it does. So there's your tip for the day. Now you've learned something, you can go home. Okay. This in. Okay, again, we're going to leave those loose so that you have some adjustability to get these back wall pieces in place. Oh, you know what? All right, so now it's time. We're going to bolt this back wall. Now as we've done before, we've already got the feet in. We've got it bolted here loosely, so everything has a little bit of play. It moves around. The mending plates are here, so these are all tied together. Now you have room to move this around, right? So now we're going to take this bushings, 3 1/8 inches. We're going to put this through here. We're going to slide it onto the bolt. Hold it with our hand, and we're going to get it in here and get it into the hole and start threading it. It takes a little bit of work. I'm going to squeeze over here because I'm going to use this. It will help a lot. So get this guy here. We're going to leave it a little bit loose so we can get back on the other side, do the other side. Okay. Same thing. Get the bolt through. Slide it in the hole. Find the hole for it. Allen wrench will help. If you have a L-shaped Allen wrench, like a traditional Allen wrench, put the long side in so you can use it to help align the bolt and get it going in the right way so the threads are going in the right pitch. Here. Now on this particular vehicle, the bolt is so long and the bushing is so long that it won't like slide off and fall to the ground, which on some vehicles it's really short bushing, it's a little more difficult. Usually I recommend using tape or something to hold it in place. On this vehicle you've got plenty of length, so it's not too bad. And you can feel it kind of just find its way into the hole. Okay, so now we're starting to get a little bit tight. So now I'm going to take my small Allen wrench, the 5/32, 4 millimeter. I'm going to take a look at this. I'm just going to get the gap pretty close. Just snug this down and snug this down. And that's just to hold it for a second while we start getting the base plates in, because we want to try and get this spacing between these kind of equal. We'll loosen that back up, get everything in, and then tighten everything down last minute once it's all. All right, so on 40%, we have finished putting on both legs, and now we're going to add the mending plates. And these mending plates are here to tie the 60% and the 40% together to kind of make them one unit. So these ones go on like this. And again, we're just going to put this on just enough to hold it in place, but still give a little bit of play so it's easy to line up with the 60% side when that side comes in. Got one more up at the front. Okay, ready to go. So let's put this in. So we're going to take the 40%. We're going to get it in position here. You can see there's a lot of movement, a lot of play, and it's designed to be that way, right? So you got to be able to get these holes to line up so you can bolt this down. You're going to put the screws here and here, get the next side put together, get all screws in, and then go through, check your alignment, get this seam nice and consistent, about a 1/16 to 1/8 of an inch, depending on how thick the coating is. Get these lined up and then crank everything down and lock it down. So let me grab the screws for this. We'll first start with putting these guys in, and then we will set these guys, and then we'll put the 60% in. 40's in place, and we're going to take these M5 screws that go into this factory brace. I'm going to drop these in, get them lined up. Take our little socket here and get them started. Make sure they're not cross-threading. You can see the plate start pulling down just a hair. It's under a little bit of load, but still movable, so that's good. So we'll stop with that. Now I'm going to go get screws, and we'll put these screws in. All right, so now we're going to take our 1/4 20 by 7/8, so 1/4 inch diameter, 20 threads per inch, 7/8 inch long. And we're going to put it, and I'm going to take my Allen wrench, and I'm going to get this, find the hole that this goes into. This just helps you get it aligned, right? So it's just now the Allen wrench is kind of in the center, it's loose. You can drop the screw in, should find its home. Or maybe not. Oh man, there it goes. All right, a little harder than normal. Always, right? And you're in a hurry. when your camping trip is tomorrow and you want to get your seat delete in, it's going to be very difficult to put in. That's just how it always goes. This guy in. Okay, and I'm not tightening these down yet. I'm just getting them in there loose just for alignment. Now we're going to grab 60%, throw it in, tie them all together, and then we'll go through and tighten everything up once that's done. Alright, it's time to look like something. So I'm going to start putting these bolts in first. These are a fixed position, right? So I want to get these started first. The rest of the stuff has a lot of movement, but these are not going to move, right? So this is attached to the vehicle. So we'll get these guys in, get them started. Easier to take your socket, just do that. And so when we design these seat deletes, we design them without the carpet mats in. I'm going to leave these in because this customer is asked to leave them in the vehicle. But normally we take the carpet floor mats out. And that's why you have a little bit of a gap here, because we design it assuming the carpet floor mats are coming out. And that's because there's so many different options. There's aftermarket, there's factory, sometimes the factory has a couple different options. It's better for us to design to what we know is in every vehicle, which is just the base carpet. And then if you have some aftermarket, if you want to trim them and put them in, which some customers do, or you just take them out altogether. Again, no one's sitting back here, so shouldn't really have any worry about having floor mats. All right. So now we can go pick up some screws for back here, and we'll get these feet aligned, get them bolted together. We'll attach the mending plates here, get everything exactly the way we want it, and then we'll go through and tighten everything down. Now we're going to take our 1/4 by 7/8, 6 screws, 2, 4, and 6. These are going to tie this base plate to the back wall. So I'm going to start with this, because this is the one that's going to be a little harder to get aligned. And then we can do the mending plates up there after the fact. Again, I'll take the Allen wrench, I'm going to stick it in the hole, kind of help guide this into position. And you can see the Allen wrench is in the middle of the hole. It's pretty close to the center. So now the screw should just drop right in, find its position, and start threading. And there we go. So I started with the far one, went to the next furthest one, and then I'll work my way across the middle because these will basically align this one. There might be a little bit of flex in this panel also, so you still might have to do some adjusting, but it should be pretty easy to do. Again, not tightening anything, just getting the screws in place. Yep, so that one going in. Just a little bit of love. There we go. Okay, so now we're going to go and we're going to go ahead and tighten up the mending plates on that side. Now we've gotten both the 40 and the 60 in place. We've gotten the front anchor points in. We've got the back anchor points to the walls. Now we're going to take the mending plates and attach these two and make them one piece. Again, best way is to take this. You can see how much movement you have. And that's all by design, right? Because if you have to install this stuff and everything was absolutely critically perfect, you're going to just not have a good time installing it. So we build it with a lot of tolerance. Try and make it as easy as possible. You can see everything's pretty good now. You're starting to see the seam is starting to straighten out. Everything's starting to get a little more consistent. We got a little bit of a gap here that's a little bit inconsistent. So I'm going to just go ahead and flex these things into position. I'm going to make sure the front edge is square. I'm going to make sure our gap is equal, and then I'm going to torque these down just a little bit. You can hear them squeak a little bit, a little bit of mercy. There we go. These guys again. Now we're getting more solid, right? You can shake the whole truck now, and we haven't finished tightening everything down. So now we're going to tighten these guys up. This one's going to need a little bit of work because you got a gap here, and it's actually touching here, so you're going to have to pull this apart a little bit and then tighten it down. There we go. Now we can tighten this. Okay. Tighten the back wall, knitting points. And when you tighten these down, you want to tighten them down snug. So all of this, where it's going through the bed liner coating, you want to tighten it down tight, kind of snug, but not over tighten it. If you crank it down till the nth degree, it's wood underneath, so it will start to flex and start to give. So you just want to get it to where it's snug. The beauty of the lining is that it actually works as a Loctite also because it has a rubbery feel to it. When the screw gets tightened down, you hear that crunching sound and that creaking sound. It's actually not only the two zinc coatings kind of bonding, but it's also the screw pressing against the liner. And basically, it's like a rubber gasket. So it prevents these things from coming loose, which is really nice. We'll go that side, tighten those ones up, and then we will go through, tighten this up, and then we'll tighten up the rest of the truck. Okay, so those are good. Now we can take this, our little wrench here. We'll go do the other side. Again, all of these things are just snug. You don't have to crank them down real hard. When you get into the bolts in the back, you hold the L brackets on, we'll put more torque on those, but those are a big stud, bolted to the vehicle, so that's different. But these guys, just enough to hold it in place. Way solid. You can feel it already, and it's not even bolted down in the back or on the back wall yet. So I'm going to take these hatches off. And then you have the bolts back here with the L brackets and the screws going into the brackets on the back wall. And none of that stuff is tight. We left that loose on purpose. So now you're going to take your Allen wrench, you're going to reach under here, you're going to find that little bolt head, and now you're going to tighten it down. It's a little bit of a pain, but it's the only way to get this in here and get it just right. If we were to tighten these down first, you would have a hard time getting this alignment done. If it's back even a 1/16 of an inch in any direction, forward or back, you're never going to get these screws in. So it's a little bit of a pain to do this, but this is the only way to get it to where you can actually get everything exactly the way you want. Oh, look at that one. That one escaped. That one escaped. All right. And back here. All right. Okay. And we'll go to the other side. Let's pull this hatch out. Turn the gear, find our bracket. Hand out of your way in a second, you can see. So there you go. So obviously having this long T-handle, not only is it a T-handle, but it's a ball end. So it actually has a round end, so you can actually hit it from different angles, so you don't have to be straight in. It's helpful. It's nice if you have it. If you don't have it, it's just a little bit more work to do with an Allen wrench. We'll get this side now. And this one, because of its angle, because of where it's at, it's basically like a quarter turn at a time. So you gotta get started, pull the wrench out, turn it, put the wrench back in. A little more work, but it's in the end, it's totally worth it. There we go, almost done. All right, now we're tight. So now that that's tight, we're gonna go ahead and tighten up the feet that go on the floor. And that's, again, the 18 millimeter. And that's gonna be on that stud that's sticking out of the ground. We're just gonna put the wrench on there. Just crank it down a little bit. Oh, that's tight. The Colorado is really nice, actually. This is the first time we built a seat delete like this, where the back wall actually carries the load of the floor. But the brackets and these big bolts like this make it unbelievably strong. So now, I mean, it's shaking the whole car, not going anywhere. So we'll start with this guy right here, find the bolt. This bolt right here, somewhere. Oh, I was going too far. Okay. All right, so now we're going to grab our 5 millimeters Allen wrench. We're going to tighten these 3 bolts up, put the doors back on. We're all done, ready to go camping. All right, so after this wonderful adventure, we only have 3 bolts left. So I'm going to tighten these up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this bushing up a little bit so that it's not sitting at an angle, because it's just right now it's resting in there. I want to get it so it's meeting flat. So when the bushing is touching flat on the metal. So get that there. That's it. It's flat. Okay. Let's get to the other side. All right. That's it. We're all done. So now, seat delete's in. Ready to go camping. Load up the car. Probably not with the kids now because you got no seats. It's all good. Plenty of storage. Latches are easy. You push the button, let it pop up, pull it out. It's got a little tab here to catch the bottom side. Same thing on this one. There you go. Hello, phone. Thank you. Above the steering wheel on the dash, if possible, right? We can't measure from the steering wheel because the steering wheels move. So we measure from here to the first seam on the seat. So I'll take this. And you are at 43 3/4. And so what we tell people is stay at 43 3/4. The seat is just barely starting to make contact with the seat delete. There still is room to go back quite a bit. But we just set it to where that's a place where it's going to barely make contact, but it's not going to rub or cause a wear pattern on your seat, right? Because you don't want to do that to your seat per se. Right there, you can feel like get your fingers through there. So that's your 43 3/4. Seats all the way down, all the way back. So everyone wants to know, how big a fridge can I fit in here? The Dometic 190,000 liter fridge will not fit here. Just kidding. So with this seat in the position, it's all the way back at a moderate recline, right? You have a whopping 22 inches, which is not enough room for almost any fridge. Except for you get into like a Dometic 25. The Dometic 25 will fit here. But your Dometic 45s, your Engel 45s, National Lunas for sure not going to fit because you need 28 inches. So this plate has 27.5 inches. So your ARBs are probably not going to be a good option for this either. The Engel 45 would be a good option for this. You are going to have to put the seat forward. Your Engel 45 is 20 inches tall, so it's this tall. You do angle 35 to 17 to be here. And to get to 25 inches, we need to push the seat forward 2 inches. So there we have it. So we push the seat forward 2 inches, you get 25 inches clear here. You can do an angle 45 or an angle 35 will fit here. Any fridge is up to 25 inches in length. The Dometic 45 will actually fit here. You'll have to take the back handle off of the fridge to get it to go all the way flush to the wall. We do have some points here where you could add some slotted Goose Gear anchors and Goose Gear straps to hold the fridge down. You can replace this screw and this screw with the longer one, and also suck the fridge down right there too with some angled straps, or you could do the screws in the front if you wanted to also. So you'd have to get longer screws, get the anchors, but our anchor kit's going to come with some extra screws for that, so you'd be good to go.